Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out tonight for the service of Yom HaShoah. And I know it's unusual for a special service to do a special welcome for someone, but I want to, because we have prayed for Rap's daughter, and we have already fallen in love with Rap's daughter, and here she is. So I'm so glad that you are here. I'm glad everyone else is, but I'm especially glad that you're here tonight. Yom HaShoah is the service of remembrance of the Holocaust, and it's held on the anniversary, the beginning of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1940. So this is the 83rd anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. In 1940, the Nazis put the Jewish people of Warsaw in a ghetto, a very small area within the city. They crammed 450,000 Jewish people. And they had rations of less than 200 calories a day. And then in 1942, the last half, they raided the ghetto, and they sent most of the people, the Jewish people, to concentration camps, to the death camps. And some hid. There were about 65,000 people left in the Warsaw Ghetto until the uprising. And with the uprising, started in April, and by the beginning of May, there were only a handful of people left in the Warsaw Ghetto. And by September, they were all gone. There were not very many survivors of the Warsaw Ghetto, even after they were taken to the concentration camps, because they were already emaciated before they were sent to the camps. And so it's an appropriate day to remember the more than 6 million people, Jewish people, who died, plus so many others who died during the Holocaust. Rita, would you lead us in our opening prayer, please?
God, who is full of mercy and dwells on high, provide a true rest on the wings of the divine presence amongst the holy and pure ones, who shine as brightly as the brilliance of the sky to the soul of all those who have gone on to their eternity. The Garden of Eden will be their resting place. We beseech the merciful one to shade them forever with divine wings and to bind their soul up in the bonds of life. The Lord is their heritage, and they shall rest peacefully on her bed. And let us say, Amen. You want me to say it now? Yes. Okay, the blessing for the candle lighting. This yellow candle reminds us of the yellow star that Jews were forced to wear to identify them as Jews and open them to ridicule and persecution. On the night of Yom HaShoah, the candles are lit in homes across the globe to shine a light of memory, a light of education, and a light that we'll never forget. We are reminded of what happens when good people do not stand up to bigotry and hate.
We named our fourth child Kayla Chaya after Chaya Holtzberg. And we feel very fortunate that we were able to discover this story about our family and our heritage.
Let me tell you a little bit about my father, because that basically will explain a little bit, I think, the background of this whole story. My father was a very quiet man. He didn't tell me anything about the Holocaust. They didn't want to talk about it. We didn't want to necessarily ask too many questions. When I was about 10, 12 years old, my father bought himself a gold watch. When my father passed away, my mother gave me the watch. When I opened it, there was a small warranty booklet inside the case.
And as we open up the folds of this warranty, something falls down. It flutters to the ground. So I bent down to pick it up, and it's a postage stamp picture of two women.
I was absolutely shocked. I've never seen this photograph before. I showed it to my mother. She wasn't sure what it was. I showed it to some of my relatives. Again, couldn't really get information about it, but it seemed clear to me that my father wanted me to have this photograph. I then found out that Yad Vashem has uploaded the database with the memorial documents, and I decided, well, let me take a look. Maybe I'll find something about my father. So I put in my father's name, and I found two documents, which absolutely shocked me. The first one is with my father's handwriting, and basically he documents there the fact that he had a wife and two children. And in addition to the name Chaya Goldberg, I found in parentheses her maiden name, Holzberg. And at that point, I remembered that my father had relatives by the name of Holzberg. Perhaps I will know who she was.
And we got in touch with the Holzbergs, who Sachi had found out was living in Queens. We invited them to our house. We had a family meal. We had all of our children there, all of our grandchildren.
This is the watch that he left for me, right? And inside the watch was this picture. No.
And he says, yes, of course, this is my sister. She was married to your father. And we said, wow.
And then he gave us some additional information about their lives. They had two daughters. One of them was about 6 or 7 years old, and the other one was a newborn. And they were apparently hiding when the Germans came in. And obviously they were very worried about the baby crying, and somebody covered her mouth. And after the Germans left, they realized that the baby died. The mother, with her own bare hands, dug a grave for her newborn baby and buried her in an unmarked grave. A couple of months later, my father was taken to a labor camp, and Chaya Goldberg and her daughter were gassed in Majdanek. The work that Yad Vashem does in maintaining this database, making it available. I mean, look, I would have never found out about that part of my family history. And it's such an important component of what we are. What Yad Vashem is doing is absolutely critical to the history of our people, to the future of our people.
And when you come to a place like Yad Vashem and you encounter the artifacts and the archives and these stories and these untold stories, there's so many more stories. It's an opportunity to really understand more. And as we understand more about our past, we understand more about our future, what our role is, how we must live our lives in light of what has happened.
I asked my father, when she was born, I told him, I'm going to name this child after Chaya Holzberg. In true fashion, my father said, you do what you need to do. But I know that when I named her Chaya, he was very, very thankful.
About is that they are doing their best to find the names of all of the Jewish people who died during the Holocaust. And at this point, they have the names of about 4.5 million people. Years ago, I went to the Holocaust Museum, in Israel. It's just outside of Jerusalem. And one part of it affected me so much. It's the children's memorial. You go down and then into a room where there's a single candle that's lit on the table. And the room is filled with broken mirrors. And so that light from the single candle is reflected millions of times. And all the while you're there, and this goes on constantly. There's never a break. All that's being read is the name of a child, where they were from, and the age that they died. It goes on and on and on without a break of 1.5 million children who died during the Holocaust. Elie Wiesel said many times and wrote many times, we have to remember. It is our responsibility to remember, because if we don't, it can happen again. And even though we try to remember, we know that it continues to happen to today.
Psalm 3. O Lord, how many are my foes? Many are rising against me. Many are saying to me, there is no help for you in God. But you, O Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, and the one who lifts up my head. I cry aloud to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy hill. I lie down and sleep. I wake again, for the Lord sustains me. I am not afraid of 10,000 people who have set themselves against me all around. Rise up, O Lord. Deliver me, O my God. For you strike all my enemies on the cheek, and you break the teeth of the wicked. Deliverance belongs to the Lord. May your blessings be on your people.
So this next story that we're going to watch and to listen to is about Hannah Pick. And Hannah and her family moved to Amsterdam from Germany around the same time as the Frank family. And the Frank family, the mother and Anne, were one day shopping, and Hannah and her mother were shopping. Neither could speak the language. And so they started talking in their own language. And the two families became such good friends. They celebrated things together. And there came a rumor that you'll hear here, and the Frank family were no longer seen. Well, Hannah went on with her little sister, and she worked in an orphanage for Jewish orphans. And one day they heard that the Nazis were coming and they were going to take all of the children. They didn't know where they were going to take them. And only 10 of the people who worked around the children were allowed to stay. And Hannah and her sister were allowed to stay, which is a good thing, because within days, all of the children who left had died. There were none who were left. And so Hannah and her sister ended up being sent to a camp, and her sister was taken in by another woman, which is wonderful because her sister was able to survive. And this is where we're going to pick up with Hannah's story, with her experience with Anne Frank. And I figured that all of you know about Anne Frank. And we know what happened to Anne, but to hear about this from someone who was actually a playmate with her. Okay.
In September 44, suddenly we see all kind of people with this clothes of the camps, and they came from the camps in Poland, but they brought infected lice by typhus, and that was the end of most of the people. If you get typhus and you have not enough food, you are working hard, you have no medication, you are very weak, then the typhus is exactly what you need to die. So that was very, very bad. And then we see people are building big, big tents. What happened? Everything was full, and there came again and again people. And we heard a rumor there are coming 7,000 women, and there was no room for them, so the Germans let build big, big tents. But somehow people started to speak, and they tell me, you know, your friend Anne Frank is here at the other side of the camp. And I couldn't believe. Anne Frank, the rumor was that they went to Switzerland. What's she doing here? So I have no choice, and at night I tried to go as near, it was forbidden, to go as near as I could to the fence. And somehow I call, hello, hello, and one Dutch woman answers me, and it was Mrs. Van Pels, the lady that was in hiding with Anne. We spoke half a minute, it was too dangerous, and she only said to me, oh, you want Anne? And she went, and after 7 minutes or so, she came back with Anne. And really, it was not the Anne, the very nice little girl I knew from Amsterdam. A sad little girl. The first thing we both cried, how do you come here? And I asked, are you not in Switzerland with Grandma? Said, no, we never went to Switzerland. We were in hiding in Daddy's office, and we were betrayed. And then we spoke about the family very short. I told her my father is very, very sick. He died 1 or 2 weeks afterwards. And then she asked if I can help with some food. And so I said, Anne, I will see what I can do. Come in 2 or 3 days. And really, after 3 days, I came with nothing, yes, but a lot. Some little football with some of the cookies we got, you know, you have this bread you can keep for a long time, something of that, and some dried prunes, and I don't remember, a piece of sugar, and we put something to wear, and glove and socks, and everybody gave me something, and I said, Anne, careful, I throw it over the fence. But I couldn't see her. I had to throw it by hearing. And there were a lot of other hungry women. And one of them caught the package, ran away with it. And Anne was shouting and crying. It was so sad. I had to calm her down. And then I said, Anne, we will try again. Come again in 2 or 3 days. And we did it once again, and she caught the package, but that was the end. We saw one another at the end of February, and then I didn't see her anymore.
So I ordered a book a few weeks ago because one of my roles in my family is to introduce Ayla to things. And so I bought this book for Ayla. She's going to be 9. And I thought this is the time when it's right to just begin gently telling her about this. And I read it and I realized this is not just a children's storybook. This book, the first 10 times I've read it, I've cried. And I'm going to try not to tonight. And I have the pictures on the screen for you as I read it. And it's a true story. The Whispering Town. There are new friends in the cellar, Annette, Mama said when I woke up. Time to take breakfast down to them. I paused at the top of the stairs. The cellar scared me because it was dark, but the whispering voices gave me courage. When I reached the bottom, I entered the secret room where we hid Danish Jews from the Nazis. A woman and her son sat on a cot. I'm Annette, I said, holding out the basket. Mama made you breakfast. I'm Carl. The boy took the basket and handed his mother a roll and a soft boiled egg. We thank you, she said. Back upstairs, I sat down to my own breakfast. How long will our new friends stay? I asked. 2 nights, said Papa. On the 3rd night, a boat will take them to Sweden. While they're here, we need more bread, Mama said. After breakfast, I walked to the bakery. We have new friends, I whispered to the baker. Here is extra, he whispered back, handing me a bulging bag. Stay safe. On the way home, I saw Nazi soldiers knock on a door across the street. Even though they had been in my town for a long time, my stomach still knotted when I saw them. Mama, Papa, soldiers across the street, I said when I came home. Mama tapped 3 times on the cellar door to warn our friends to be quiet. After the soldiers left, Papa looked up at the cloudy sky. No moon tonight, he said. It will be difficult for our friends to find the harbor in the darkness. The next day, I took food to the cellar again. Again, I let the whispering voices guide me down the dark stairs. This will help the time pass, I said, handing Carl some library books. He took them and smiled. I love to read. Mama, I need new books, I said when I came upstairs. After breakfast, I walked to the library. We have new friends, I whispered to the librarian. Be careful, she whispered back, handing me extra books. On the way home, I saw Nazi soldiers knock on our neighbor's door. Mama, Papa, soldiers next door, I said when I came in the house. Mama tapped 3 times on the cellar door. After the soldiers left, Papa looked up at the cloudy sky. No moon again tonight, he said. Maybe the clouds will clear tomorrow. Again the next morning, I let the whispering voices guide me down the dark stairs. As Carl reached into the breakfast basket, a heart-shaped stone fell to the floor. Carl picked it up. I found this with my papa the last time we walked on the beach, he said. It's beautiful, I said. Annette, we need more eggs, Papa said when we finished breakfast. I walked to the farm. We have new friends, I whispered to the farmer. Wish them well, he whispered back, giving me extra eggs. On my way home, I saw Nazi soldiers heading for our house. I cut across the alley and raced through our back door. Mama, Papa, the soldiers are coming to our house. They didn't answer me. No one was home. I tapped 3 times on the cellar door. Then I heard pounding on the front door. Boom, boom, boom. I opened it a crack. We've heard rumors that someone is hiding Jews on this street, said a soldier, pushing the door open. I haven't heard any rumors, I said, trying to stop my voice from shaking. When we find them, we will arrest everyone, warned the other soldier. Trembling, I closed the door. The soldiers were here, I said, when Mama and Papa returned. They are looking for hidden Jews. Brave Annette, Papa hugged me. Our friends must leave tonight, even though it is cloudy. How can we get them safely to the harbor? I thought about being afraid of the dark cellar and how the whispering voices guided me down the stairs. Papa, what if people stood in their doorways and used their voices to guide our friends to the boat? I suggested. Papa stood quietly, considering my idea. That might work, he said. Help me to arrange it. I ran to the baker, the librarian, and the farmer to tell them about our plan. They agreed to help spread the word around the village. At midnight, Carl and his mama came up from the cellar. Carl pressed the heart-shaped stone into my hand. Remember me always, Annette. I held the little heart against my own. After Carl and his mama slipped into the night, I leaned as far as I could out my bedroom window. I heard our neighbor whisper from his doorway, "This way," he said, guiding Carl and his mother toward the harbor. Then our neighbor's neighbor whispered, "This way." The whispers continued from neighbor to neighbor until Carl and his mama had safely reached the boat. I squeezed the stone in my hand and imagined them walking free on the beach in Sweden. I am going to read this book to Ayla without crying. I am determined. In Denmark, 90% of Danish Jews survived the Holocaust. No other place did they survive to that degree. It is amazing that so many of them survived. There were 8,000 Jews in Denmark. In April 1940, the Germans invaded Denmark. And to survive, they made an agreement that the Danish government did with the Nazis, that they wouldn't get in their way if they would leave them, the Danish people, in power. And the Nazis agreed. But the Danish people weren't really happy with that. And so they started sabotaging. And in September 1943, word came out right before Rosh Hashanah, a very high holy day for the Jewish population, their new year, that there was going to be a roundup of all of the Jews in Denmark, and they were going to be sent to one of the death camps. And so word got out, and people took it upon themselves to hide their Jewish neighbors. A huge effort to hide as many as they could. Unfortunately, there were 200 of them who hid in a Catholic church, and they were betrayed by someone. There were others who didn't hide because they could not believe that such evil could happen. And so all of the ones who didn't hide were captured and sent to a camp. So about 500 Danish Jews were deported to the ghetto, but 7,200 Danish Jews were ferried to Sweden. And of the 500 who were deported to the ghetto, only 51 did not survive the Holocaust. Even of those who were sent, only 51 didn't survive. And the reason for that is that the Danish government spoke up and defended the Jewish people from their country. They had individual people send care packages to the Jewish people in these camps. They spoke up all the way through and told the Nazis that they did not approve of what was happening. And so these Jewish people from Denmark were treated very differently than the rest of the Jewish population. Can you imagine the difference it would have made if more people had acted, if more countries had spoken up. The Bishop of Copenhagen during that time issued a protest and ordered it read in every church in the country. It said, wherever Jews are persecuted because of their religion or race, it is the duty of the Christian church to protest against such persecution because it is in conflict with the sense of justice inherent in the Danish people and inseparable from our Danish culture through the centuries. Our different religious views notwithstanding, we shall fight for the cause that our Jewish brothers and sisters may preserve the same freedom which we ourselves evaluate more highly than life itself. The bishop closed his letter with this: we shall therefore, in any given event, unequivocally adhere to the concept that we must obey God before we obey man. I want us to concentrate on this because so many churches, we've heard of Bonhoeffer who spoke out, but the majority of churches in Europe cooperated. Not only cooperated with the Nazis, the majority of the churches handed over their baptismal records to the Nazis before the Nazis even made it a law to do that. They did it because of centuries of horrible theology. It's one reason that in the United Methodist Church, in the Passion narrative, we have taken out the words, "His blood be on us and on our children." We've taken those words out because throughout the 2,000 years, the most Jewish deaths have happened during Holy Week. And so, on this night that we remember the Holocaust, we remember also the difference that it makes when people step up and do what is right. Amen? Amen. Okay, Rita?
Before I share the memorial prayer for this event, I want to personally thank Pastor Brenda for allowing me the honor of being part of this. And I want to personally thank each of you. I'm certainly not a bigwig in the Jewish community, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. I was totally unprepared that it would touch my heart so deeply. And so I thank you for being here. And I thank God for all God's blessings. So I'm going to read the Shoah Memorial Prayer. Hopefully I will say it as the prayer that it should be. Creator of all, source and shelter, grant a perfect rest under your tabernacle of peace to those who perished in the Holocaust, our fathers and mothers, our sisters and brothers, our rabbis and teachers, our neighbors and children, the named and the unnamed, whose lives were cut off by brutal, vicious, cunning, and calculated violence. May they find peace in the world to come. Remember the survivors who have since passed away, and the virtues of our people who've died at the hands of malice in every generation. We remember the works of their hands and the messages of their hearts. Bless the defenders of Israel with safety and strength, and the righteous of all nations who provide protection, shelter, and comfort to the Jewish people. Let their deeds be a source of favor in heaven and healing on earth. Put an end to anger, hatred, and fear, and lead us to a time when no one will suffer at the hand of another. Speedily in our days, May the memories of all who faced these horrors be sanctified with joy and love. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life, a living blessing in our midst. And the people said, Amen.
So Rita, let's stand together.
Yes, yes.
And thank you for coming and joining us. I would not do this without you. So go in love, because it is love, and only love, that can conquer hatred. Go to remember and to make a difference in the world. Amen.